Senator, I would stand on my previous answer. I think it would depend on the circumstance. I'm not aware of any district attorney in the country
How can I vote for you if you won't answer?
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of you. I enjoyed hearing about and meeting some of your family members. Ms. Morrison, which branch of government passes criminal statutes?
The legislative branch.
Yes, ma'am. And legislators, of course, I think we can agree, are elected by the people. Do you think it would be fair to say that the people in our legislators define criminality for our communities?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. Do you think it's appropriate for a district attorney to decide to ignore criminal statutes and not to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Thank you, Senator, for that question.
You're welcome.
District attorneys, as you know, are accountable to the people and the citizens who elect them. And I know it has become an issue in elections about the extent to which district attorneys will use the resources of their office to focus on particular categories.
And what do you think about that issue? Do you think it's, let me ask you again, do you think it's appropriate for prosecutors to say, I disagree with the legislature and the people, and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Senator, I think it is appropriate for prosecutors to evaluate each case that comes before them, and almost
Yes,
every
ma'am,
prosecutor.
but that's not what I'm asking. I know you, you're smart, okay? I can tell from your resume. Let me say it again. The people elect their legislators. Legislators say on behalf of the people, this is a crime which society will not tolerate without punishment. Do you think that it's okay for prosecutors to say, I disagree and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases, I don't care who is charged? Do you agree with that?
Senator, I agree that prosecutors have the legal option to use the flexibility given to them.
When they exercise that option, do you agree with that?
I think it would depend on the circumstance under which they're exercising it and what the rationale was for their
Well, what are the circumstances where it's okay to do that?
So I think prosecutors in this country work very difficult jobs under very demanding conditions.
I'll stipulate to that, but we have prosecutors who are saying, to hell with the legislature and the people, we're not going to prosecute an entire line of cases. And I think my question is pretty straightforward. Do you agree with that or disagree with it?
Senator, I have never worked as a prosecutor. I have.
Yes, ma'am, but you've read about it.
Yes,
what's going on? Do you agree with it or disagree with it?
Senator, I don't think I can give a categorical yes or no to that because I think it would depend on the
circumstances. I think you just answered my question. What do you think about the job being done by District Attorney Krasner? I believe you work for the District Attorney's re-election or election. Do you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Senator, I did not actually work on District Attorney Krasner's campaign. I've been an adversary of that office.
I apologize. Do you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Senator, I don't think it would be appropriate as a judicial nominee for me to comment on the performance of an elected official.
Why not?
Because there is always a chance that a case could come before me in which someone has, say, a prior conviction from Philadelphia who's then prosecuted in New York, and any commentary that I made on that office could be grounds for...
Isn't that convenient? Do you think judges... Apparently you think that prosecutors should be able to say, we're not going to prosecute a line of cases and a group of crimes despite the solemn expression of a legislative will. Do you think judges should be able to do that? Say, I don't agree with this criminal statute. I'm not going to prosecute. I'm not going to hear cases for any of them.
No, Senator, judges do not prosecute cases. And
I know that. But do you think a judge should say, I don't want to hear, I'm going to dismiss all these cases because I don't agree with the criminal statute? I think you understand my question, Ms. Morrison.
I do, Senator, and I would, I'm trying to recall how you phrased the question. I would agree with you, or at least my position would be that judges cannot refuse to adjudicate or hear a case and ignore the will of the
But district attorneys can.
As executives, they are granted with greater discretion. For example, district attorneys day in and day out.
A whole line of cases.
Complaints from the police that they then evaluate based on the evidence.
Do you think a district attorney, it's appropriate for a district attorney saying, look, in the name of social justice, I'm not going to prosecute armed robberies anymore? You agree with that?
Senator, I would stand on my previous answer. I think it would depend on the circumstance. I'm not aware of any district attorney in the country.
How can I vote for you if you won't answer a straightforward question?
The last frame of this hearing ends not with
Senator,
a
I would
soft
hope that you would consider
professional
the entirety of my record and
disagreement,
my qualifications and
but
the work that I've done.
Kennedy's final line
And
How
I see
can
all
I
these
vote
comments
for
you've
you
made
if
in
you won't
favor of the
answer a
district attorneys
straightforward
who, in the
question
name of
like
social
that?
justice,
That
and
is the
you've
emotional
spoken
cliff
glowingly
the
of all of
viewer
them,
is
and now you
left
won't answer my
dangling
question
over
about it.
when the
You say it's
gavel
inappropriate.
shifts.
And I just don't
That
think
is
it's
the
really
moment where
appropriate.
the entire
Thank you,
architecture
Mr.
of the
Chairman.
federal judiciary
Thank you, Senator
confirmation
Kennedy. Senator
process
Cruz.
collapses
Thank you,
into
Mr.
its
Chairman.
raw,
Ms.
unmasked,
Morrison, you urge this committee to
essential
look
pressure point.
at the whole of your record.
Can a
I will
nominee
confess the whole
tell
of your
the
record is
country
deeply
what
disturbing.
they actually believe
Across this
when it
country,
matters,
Americans are
or
horrified
will they
at
choose
skyrocketing crime rates, at
abstraction as
skyrocketing homicide
refuge?
rates, at skyrocketing burglary rates,
Kennedy
at
wasn't asking
skyrocketing
about nuance.
carjacking rates.
He wasn't
And
asking
all of
about
those are the
resource
direct result of the policies
prioritization.
you've spent your
He
entire
wasn't
lifetime
asking
advocating.
about executive
You
discretion
have repeated
as philosophical thought exercise. He was asking the single moral bottleneck question that the entire country now feels daily in prosecutors' offices across America. Do the elected representatives of the people define criminality? Or do prosecutors get to decide certain crimes no longer exist because they disagree with the people's moral line? That's why he kept circling it. That's why he kept stripping the layers back. Because this nominee was doing what so many nominees now do, using procedural rhetoric to avoid moral accountability, using discretion theory as a jurisdiction shield, using judicial neutrality tropes to avoid standing on record. She kept trying to escape into conditional clauses. She kept trying to keep all future lanes open. She kept trying to maintain plausible judicial insulation. Kennedy refused to let her. Kennedy forced her to confront the modern crisis of the progressive prosecutorial movement, the movement that openly redefines categories of crime through non-prosecution rather than legislative debate, the movement that retrofits criminal law through refusal, the movement that changes reality not by winning the argument in front of the public, but by simply refusing to act. And she would not, or could not, say whether she agreed. In that moment, the Judiciary Committee room stopped being a Senate hearing and became a referendum on the existential legitimacy of democratic criminal law. Kennedy forced the nominee to face the core democratic question. Will judges defend the sovereignty of the people when the people draw the moral line? Or will judges defend elected prosecutors who erase that line through ideological non-prosecution? Crime in America is not an abstraction right now. Every city knows these debates are not theoretical. Every parent knows these debates are not academic. Every working-class neighborhood knows what it means when violent offenders are released because a prosecutor believes the legislature got morality wrong. When the public elects lawmakers to say something is beyond the moral limit, and prosecutors nullify that limit behind closed doors, the constitutional order begins to tear. Kennedy put his finger directly on that tear. And when she would not say plainly whether that is acceptable, he said the quiet part out loud. How can I confirm you if you refuse to state moral first principles? This is not about partisanship. This is about the future of legitimacy itself. Because what is happening nationwide is the slow liquidation of democratic consent inside the criminal legal system, replaced with executive reinterpretation through non-action. When the Senate cannot extract a single moral sentence from a judicial nominee on this central constitutional question, the Senate itself becomes complicit in the dissolution of the democratic criminal norm. This is why hearings like this matter. This is why these moments cannot be allowed to pass as just another viral clip. This is why the American people have to see clearly that the future of the judiciary is being negotiated through evasive word games, while the stakes are not theoretical. They are life and death. The rule of law only exists when the people define the line and the system enforces it without ideological editing. If the public does not pay attention, the power to reshape criminal reality in America will continue migrating into the shadows, into unelected executive bureaucracies, into prosecutors who claim discretion as unlimited override. We cannot let that drift remain invisible. This country cannot survive if our criminal code becomes optional based on faction. This country cannot survive if judicial nominees cannot say plainly that the people's voice matters more than the ideological fashion of the moment. This country cannot survive if every future homicide, every future assault, every future destroyed life is treated as acceptable collateral damage of moral theory. Watch these hearings like X-rays. Watch who can speak moral reality in daylight. Watch who cannot. The future of American democratic criminal legitimacy is being decided here, nominee by nominee, hearing by hearing, question by question. Do not look away. Subscribe to Congress Signal.